Live. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Let's talk about what's happening, what's going on. Some people are feeling away, and people don't really know what's going to transpire. It's really up to the court and the jury, basically. It's up to the jury and what they're going to decide, what they're going to do. We're coming towards the end of the trial, everyone. It's been a long 5 to 6 weeks. It's been a long 5 to 6 weeks. So allow me some time. It's going to take people a few minutes to come in. We're going to talk hot topics, trending topics. We're just going to get into this case. It's going to be a busy week because people are going to want to know what will the decision be made from the courts. And it's totally up to them. Um, I'm sure everyone's going to be awaiting the verdict. It's probably going to be busy outside the courtroom. A lot of media has been out there. Of course, a lot of YouTubers have been out there. Some of it has definitely changed a lot of YouTubers' lives in regards to covering the case, giving their opinions about the case. So many of those YouTubers I'm very proud of. They've been giving us the facts and what's been happening in the court day to day, live. So kudos to the YouTubers that's doing the doggone thing, and they're reporting on this case the best way they can. So let's go ahead. Let me get my disclaimer in. So like the videos, you guys come in. I appreciate you being here. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. So thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate it. We're going to get through some trending topics, hot topics. We're going to talk about what's being talked about in the media, in the news. Just to update you guys on, what's being said, what's being talked about, just to clarify some things, just to give you an understanding. Some people say certain things been removed or dropped. No, I think they just reworded it. And I think some people still are saying that's what it is. So if you carefully listen to smart attorneys, I'm not an attorney, but if you listen to smart people, they'll tell you those things weren't dropped. They felt that he did it. So there's a difference in regards to dropping something and rewording something to confirm that this is what it was. And then remember, Cassie had said that he's planning to do certain things to Kid Cudi's car. So that in itself, Cassie's message really helped them solidify and get things in order. Okay, so we're going to get to some topics, trending topics, and we're going to get through some videos. So like the videos, you guys come in.
It's time to hold Combs accountable, arguing that he ran a criminal enterprise. One of their key witnesses, Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, testified that she endured years of alleged physical and emotional abuse. But the defense painted Combs' relationship with Ventura as, quote, a great modern love story. Combs faces 5 federal charges, including sex trafficking.
Can you believe the attorney said a great modern day love story? In whose eyes? Nobody wants that for anybody's daughter. The comments, the concerns, the sleeping situation, the dating situation, not great career boost, mediocre, making comments to the mom, asking money from the mom because the daughter wants to move on. This is not a great modern day love story. Because I'm sure none of these men would want this for their mother, their niece, or anybody they love. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. And that's the thing. I keep saying it. Over the weekend, I said, are the attorneys trying to normalize his behavior? Are the attorneys trying to normalize his behavior in regards to how he treats his employees and how he is in relationships? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Racketeering, which could result in life in prison. The trial focuses on allegations from Ventura and another ex-girlfriend. Both accuse him of coercing them into sexual acts with male escorts. CB Cotton joins us for the latest. CB.
Yeah,
Madison, Well, if you can believe it, tomorrow will mark 2 months since Diddy's federal sex trafficking trial first began, and we've reached another crucial point. Tomorrow morning, the judge will instruct the jury on the law before deliberations can begin, and then jurors will have to decide which version of the story they're buying. Prosecutors got the final word on Friday afternoon with their rebuttal to closing arguments from the defense. Lead prosecutor Maureen Comey saying in part, quote, "For 20 years, the defendant got away with his crimes. That ends in this courtroom. Overwhelming evidence proves his guilt. It is time to hold him accountable." The government has used witness testimony, bank statements, phone records, explicit text and videos, and injury photos to argue Diddy ran a criminal enterprise, fueling and concealing sex crimes. This gash above the eye of Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, among the evidence prosecutors say proves Diddy is guilty of all charges, which, as you mentioned, include sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. A guilty verdict on either of those counts could put Diddy behind bars for life. But during defense closing arguments, Diddy's attorney repeatedly called this a false trial, an exaggerated trial, saying all the sexual encounters were consensual. And at times, the lead defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo, even appeared to mock the government's evidence photos of baby oil and guns as weak. And he repeatedly accused prosecutors of criminalizing Diddy's swinger sex life. And he also said, had Diddy been charged with domestic violence, he would have pled guilty, but he said his client is not guilty on these charges.
So, see, I'm so glad, you brought up the jury because now it's in their hands. So let's talk about the jury. Tell me about the breakdown. And then also, when we've discussed this, I've had to avoid reading some of your emails because the evidence is so graphic. So have you gotten any insight into how they've reacted when they see some of this evidence?
Yeah, so it's an interesting jury breakdown. There was 8 men, 4 women. It's a pretty racially diverse jury as well. And by the time I got in the courtroom, I think it was a couple weeks ago that I finally got inside the main courtroom. There's a lot of interest in this case, so you have to work diligently to try to get inside. By the time I was inside, I really saw muted reactions from the jurors. I think at this point, they've gotten accustomed to the explicit content in the trial. But initially, when things first got underway, there were some initial reports that said with some of the explicit screenshots and some of the explicit text, a couple of the women on the jury would wince at some of the evidence that they had seen. I will say, when I was inside for one day, there was an explicit video that was shown. We can't see this content in the courtroom gallery. It's under seal, right? But I did watch as one man on the jury. After he watched a clip, he quickly pulled off his headphones and he covered his mouth. So whatever you make of that reaction, I do think at this point, though, they've gotten accustomed to some of the explicit content, though.
Let's keep going with this. The general mood in the courtroom now that you're in there, we're from the outside looking in. And
please like the video. Please like the video. Please thumbs up the video. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Even limited view to that extent in there. Also, Diddy's known for his pressure tactics, as it's been alleged in the case. It was there before that, just the way he operated within the industry.
There's some definitely interesting points that you bring up with that. He's got an air of charisma, right? That's how he ascended to the top of his game in the music industry. So at the start of the trial, the judge actually admonished Diddy pretty strongly because he was captured engaging somewhat with jurors. One day it was reported that he shivered and he said, he mouthed, "It's cold in here." And there was another report that he was eyeing jurors after certain testimony. And the judge scolded his defense attorneys and told them, "Don't let that happen again." And after that, nothing else came out about Diddy trying to engage with the jury. But there was another moment that I thought was interesting this past week. Before closing arguments, Diddy complimented the judge. And when he said that he wouldn't be testifying in his own defense, he also said, "I want to let you know you've been doing a great job," to the judge. And the judge had a small laugh and said, "I appreciate that, thank you." And he quickly moved on. So I think there have been moments where you might say Diddy has tried to interject some of that charisma.
I want to focus on racketeering because one of the most serious charges that he's going to face. And look, I think we can all stipulate, almost everybody in America, in the world can stipulate, Diddy is a really, really bad dude who's into really, really bad things. He is a sick individual according to what the rest of us view as normal behavior. But how did the prosecution establish the elements needed for racketeering based off of that salacious and horrific evidence that they present?
So you bring up a really crucial charge, racketeering conspiracy. I think it's not only the most serious charge, it's the most complex charge in this case. And so that's why you watch the prosecutor who delivered closing arguments take a great deal of time to explain it. So she told jurors, in order to convict Diddy of racketeering conspiracy, you have to find that both he and his inner circle, members who, his chief of staff and other former employees, committed 2 racketeering acts. They can be the same 2 racketeering acts. You just have to find that they committed them. And they allege the racketeering acts in this case are kidnapping, arson, bribery, forced labor, witness tampering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. And so, they argue that the copious amounts of evidence they presented, whether it be witness testimony, salacious text, and videos, they argue that it proves Diddy created this sex crime ring to force and coerce women into drug-fueled sex parties.
called freak-offs. And, some legal experts feel that, prosecutors have sufficient.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Please like the video as you guys come in. Please like the video as you guys come in. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before where you're watching from. Like I said, he's innocent till proven guilty in a court of law. A jury's going to have to decide his fate at this point. Let's continue. Fair use. Thanks for tuning in.
Sufficiently laid out this
Good morning.
case. But Todd, you're an attorney yourself. Some legal experts feel that prosecutors overcharged. We'll have to see. It lies with jurors.
Real quick one. You just used the word salacious. You used the word explicit. A lot of evidence in this case. How does the defense push back against it?
Great question. So the defense argues that all the sexual encounters were consensual, and they say that these women could have left at any point. They didn't have to engage in this type of behavior.
Well, CB, thank you so much for breaking it down. And we'll be watching.
So even if they would have sent a message saying, no, I'm tired, I don't want to do that anymore, I just want a relationship with you, it's almost like they were pressured to do what he wanted, what he needed to fulfill his needs, which is interesting.
Tomorrow. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Meanwhile,
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
So of course, let's see, Monday, Tuesday, big days. Big days, what's going to happen? What's going to transpire? How will they proceed? Hold on one second. Fair use reaction clip. Like the videos you guys come in. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think he's guilty, not guilty?
This letter from the government sent to the judge saying it will remove these allegations for jurors to consider: attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, and aiding and abetting sex trafficking. They were thought to have been cornerstones of the prosecution's case.
Sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
The U.S. attorney laid out the allegations.
I'm going to go to a different one. They have music. Like the videos you guys come in. Like the videos.
5 hours.
Like the videos you guys come in. A lot going on.
He also had a pattern of force and shame that he used to control others. What do you make of the state's case?
So it's an interesting one in that it can go both ways. On one hand, the government basically made its case. It does have the evidence to fit into the elements of this whole RICO case. They can prove that there were forced activities. They can prove that drugs were involved. They can prove that there were threats made, intimidations, and people were involved to make it sort of a criminal enterprise. The issue is, does this fit the traditional terminology of what a juror would think when they hear a racketeer case? Is this the mob? Was there something called the DIDDY cartel here? And that was not the situation. So the government's sort of trying to retroactively create this whole criminal enterprise when it didn't exist from the get-go, and they're hoping that the jury goes along with it. I don't think it's an easy sell to the jury.
So the prosecution called over 30 witnesses over 6 weeks. The defense made their case, as you know, in less than 30 minutes, calling no witnesses. What do you make of that strategy? Are they throwing in the towel? Do you think the prosecution's case is weak? What's their play there?
So the defense is sending a message to the jury that we aren't even dignifying these accusations, that it's so outrageous for the government to say that our client formed some sort of criminal conspiracy or organization as if he's like the Gambino mob. It's outrageous, ridiculous, and we're not going to give it any credibility. And that's why Diddy didn't testify. They didn't put any witnesses to the contrary. That's what they're banking on here.
Yeah, it could be effective. Looking ahead to tomorrow, the defense will make their closing argument. How would
which is today,
as a criminal defense attorney, argue this and talk about strategy here?
I would argue that it's prosecutorial overreach, that the acts that Diddy did were awful, heinous, immoral, but he wasn't running a mob. This is not the Sinaloa cartel. And for the prosecution to try to convert that case into something that is not is unfair, even to someone that did things that Diddy did. Everyone's entitled to due process and fair treatment under the law, and this is prosecutorial overreach. That will be the play by the defense.
So more to the strategy point, during jury instruction deliberations, a number of racketeering theories were dropped against Combs, including attempted arson and kidnapping. Explain why that happened. What's the goal?
So 2 reasons. Number 1 is the witnesses that testified to some of those charges didn't do as well in the stand as the prosecution would have liked. There wasn't very good forensic evidence to back them up. Number 2 is the government wants the jurors to...
Yeah, I like what he's saying. There's evidence that I side-eyed. There's testimonies I side-eyed. There's things that us normal, everyday people think should have happened. Certain people that should have took the stand. There's a lot that did not happen. So it's totally up to the jurors. It really is. How they're trying to normalize his behavior is concerning. How they're trying to say this is a modern day relationship, concerning. They would not want this for their daughters, their mothers, their aunts. They wouldn't. So that's the thing, how the jurors are going to feel about what they presented. The Kid Cudi thing, Kid Cudi shouldn't have had to turn in alleged prints to the police. The police should have already had the prints. The police officer running his plate but not pulling him over, concerning. No video camera of the car situation, concerning. No video recording of the neighbors situation, concerning. There's a lot that needed to happen, and them constantly meeting with people that took the stand, concerning. Why would you need to meet with those people that much? This is what happened. I worked for them. I dated. I was in a situation. I was expected to do XYZ. Some stories not matching, dates not matching, concerning. But it's literally up to the jury and how they feel in regards to. But you can't normalize a toxic relationship. You can't normalize a toxic work environment. You can't normalize that, because as all of us are going to work or getting ready to work, you would not want your boss asking you to take a substance. No, sir, thank you. No, no, thank you. You would not want your boss asking you to stay up for 3 to 4 days. That's not normal. A lot of the issues that were transpiring are concerning in a relationship. Asking your girlfriend to sleep with other men and not protect her with protection, concerning. Having them sleep together and they're hooking up, not just for one day, sometimes days, and asking your girl to sleep with 2 to 3 men, and they're getting ready back to back. You're making them wait until the next guy is done. Who does that? People have a little kink in them in regards to their bedroom situation, but lining up dudes to sleep with your girl, that's not somebody he ever loved. And then hearing the grabbing when she tried to leave. So is there other times when she tried to leave and that's what he did? And then trying to purchase the tape of that. What is being talked about is all concerning. How his attorneys is presenting it is concerning, because there's no way that they would want, if they have children, those attorneys, if they have children, they wouldn't want that for their children. So are the attorneys saying, I wouldn't mind if he dated my daughter, my wife, my ex-wife. I wouldn't mind him dating my aunt. Real talk. Let's really look at the bigger picture in regards to, he's a corporation, a man, and he has a business to run, and he's doing this outside of business. But this is big. This is for the jury to decide. I am sure, and that's why he had said to the judge, you're doing a great job. They requested a mistrial, 2 times that I know of. I don't know if it was a third. But the sidebars, the constant objection, when people want to state their thoughts and they try to minimize them and just yes or no's, a lot of times people need to elaborate. So the case and the allegations concerning, like the video, you guys, we have about 106 people in, and I only got 3 likes. Please, let's get the likes to 100. Please double tap that screen. If you're watching from a tablet or phone, all it takes is a double tap. All it takes is a double tapping of the screen. I think people that are saying, he has things that he do outside of his bedroom, and he's an employer that require things out of his employees. When you look at the bigger picture, would you want your boss asking you to do X, Y, or Z? No, you wouldn't. Would you expect your boss to ask your wife to do X, Y, or Z? Would you expect your daughter boss to do X, Y, Z? No. And I think when people look at it that way, this is huge HR concerns. This is huge union concerns. When you look at that, if he's going to make himself a corporation, and he did, paying for certain situations. And then they're saying they paid for time. They didn't pay for him sleeping with. That's not true. So if you see somebody giving services on the side of the road, the police pulls up, he gonna take those people to jail. But in his situation, it could be different because it's at a hotel. And then the woman says, no, I'm not interested. And then the woman pulls up, and then there's the red light. She already know what's about to go down. And then they were on substances. The women wanted time with him. And then you got to realize he was requesting what? Not women. He was requesting what? And then they would mess around in the sloppy seconds. And then the request of the men, you had to release. I'm talking general. Y'all grown folks over here. The men had to release. If the men didn't release, he was upset. Let's get the likes up, y'all. Double tap the screen, please. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. Let's double tap the screen, you guys. It lets everyone know we're live. It supports the channel, and it keeps me in the algorithm. I want to stay within the algorithm. So when people say, oh, you know, they're trying to take a man down, he did things. Nobody's trying to do anything. We're just observing the allegations, the concerns with the toxic relationship, and the concerns that the employees had, the assistants had. But many people are surprised that who Diddy worked with didn't take the stand. His right-hand people, it's sad that they took the assistants and not other people that worked for him that were bigger. It's sad that they did that to the assistants. And to make 50% of this about Cassie. He dated other people. Some of those people were able to go MIA and not take the stand. He dated other people outside of Cassie. Where are they? What did you experience? What did he do for you? So he treated this person this way, but he treated you this way. That would have been interesting to show. Yeah, how he reacts and how he is concerning. Period. And I don't know who he worked for. Some say that he could have been working for. And they're just trying to wipe away a lot of things that he had in his home. A lot of people are surprised. There was a raid in the home, but we're hearing more about baby oil and lubricants. What is all the stuff you pulled from his house? And then you had to look, just what this is saying, they pulled Cassie's phone. What's the stuff on his phone? What's the other stuff on his phone? What recordings did you get out of his house? You know, so a lot of people are kind of side-eyeing the court case, period. Some will say they really didn't have much. They had to do it this way because, no, they should have did better, period. Like the videos, you guys come in. Fair use reaction clip.
Focus squarely on the most important charges here, which is the racketeering and sex trafficking parts. So they feel that by eliminating the other charges.
Let's get the likes to 100, you guys. It's a double tapping of the screen. Please double tap the screen, you guys. Let's get the likes to 100. It's a quick double tap. And please subscribe. We're trying to get to 39K. Please subscribe. We're trying to get to 39K. Hit the like. Double tap. Double tap. Let's get the likes up. We're at 16 likes. Let's get the likes up. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. Thank you. Let's continue.
They can get Diddy on the most egregious and most important charges to their case.
So prosecutors today, they told jurors to use their quote-unquote common sense. And at the end of this ordeal, there were a lot of witnesses that showed Combs was an abusive, bad man. We've seen the video over and over again from the hotel and Cassie. But do you think that the charges as written were proven beyond a reasonable doubt? What's your expectation for tomorrow, or for the for the jury to come back with?
So the charges probably were technically, and I emphasize the word technically, proven beyond a reasonable doubt, but the spirit of racketeering, the spirit of that statute, which carries a mandatory minimum of 15 years, it was not designed for this type of case necessarily, and that's what the defense needs to convey to the jury. The problem is that if the jury doesn't like Diddy based on all the evidence that they saw, they might not care that this is not the traditional approach a RICO case, to a racketeering case, and just say, we don't like him, we don't like what he did, the elements are there, and we're going to convict him. So it's really anyone's guess.
Must be beyond a reasonable doubt. Of course, criminal defense attorney.
Must be beyond a reasonable doubt. Have they given that to the jurors? That's the real question. Maybe, maybe not. It's all going to depend on the jurors. Many people feel that he's cooked. And many people feel that's the end of the story. Real talk. You're right. That's how some people feel. And see, that one thing too, the jurors might have felt one way Friday. Saturday, Sunday, they might have had a slight change of heart. Monday, they might have had another slight change of heart. It's all going to depend on. And then this is the other thing too. What we're going to watch out for is what the jurors, if they make other requests. I need to see this. I need to see that. And if we hear about it in the news. Okay. Because that's going to let us know how they're feeling about questioning certain things that was presented.
At the trial, Phil, good morning.
Yeah, Michelle, good morning. And we do know that jury deliberations are expected to begin today, and that's as closing arguments wrapped up on Friday. Now, several of the charges that Sean Combs faces could land him behind bars for the rest of his life. Now, his family appeared at the courthouse Friday for closing arguments. It was the first time that we saw his daughters in weeks since the start of the trial, as salacious details unraveled from inside the Lower Manhattan courtroom and graphic testimony was given. Many of them hopeful he can beat the charges and be returned home to them. But first, jurors will have to come to a decision after hearing from 34 witnesses, headlined by the prosecution's star witness, former girlfriend to Combs, Cassie Ventura, and Jane, who had testified as well. Now, both women said he was often violent and forced them into hundreds of sexual encounters with paid male sex workers. Now, Combs chose not to testify before the close of his trial, as prosecutors and Combs' defense team took their final shots at convincing jurors.
Are you surprised he didn't testify? Let me know in the comments. Fair use reaction clip.
To convict or acquit the founder of Bad Boy Records.
Juries love direct evidence. They are going to look a lot at the text messages that happened at that time. They may or may not look at the videos. They're going to look at the things that happened at that time, because most jurors feel like that gives them the most accurate portrayal of what actually took place.
And while the jury could take days to reach a verdict, as for Sean Combs, he denies any wrongdoing.
Okay, let me know in the comments. Do you think that he's guilty? 1, not guilty. 2, or if there'll be a mistrial. Guilty, not guilty, or mistrial. Let me know in the comments.
If convicted, he can spend the rest of his life behind bars. We're live in Lower Manhattan this morning. I'm Phil T, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Phil. Stay with Eyewitness News throughout the deliberations. We'll break into programming as soon as we know a verdict has been reached. And at ABC7NY, you can also sign up for breaking news push alerts so that you can be among the first to know the fate of Sean Diddy Combs.
And I do believe they're already in court this morning. I do believe they're already in court.
After weeks of testimony.
And I do believe they got started early. Hold on one second. Yeah, let me know in the comments, you guys. Do you think he's guilty, not guilty? Do you think that what the jurors will feel, and did they choose things without a reasonable doubt?
Allegations of kidnapping, bribery, and arson, but prosecutors painting a different picture over the last 7 weeks, calling 34 witnesses, ranging from alleged victims and escorts to Combs' former assistants.
Let me go back. Hold on.
Sean Combs' defense team making their closing arguments in his criminal trial. As 6 of Combs' children looked on, his attorney Mark Agnifilo telling the jury that this is a tale of 2 trials and badly exaggerated. Combs is charged with 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, 2 counts of sex trafficking, and 1 count of racketeering. Agnifilo trying to discredit allegations of kidnapping, bribery, and arson, but prosecutors painting a different picture over the last 7 weeks, calling 34 witnesses, ranging from alleged victims and escorts to Combs' former assistants, and telling jurors in their closing argument that Combs used power, violence, and fear to get what he wanted, alleging he ran a criminal enterprise, calling it Combs' kingdom, where everyone was there to serve him. And that prosecutors say Combs physically abused and sex trafficked former girlfriends Cassie Ventura and another woman, forcing them to take drugs and have sex with male escorts.
But Combs' lawyer saying that there is no evidence to support this, and that it was a swinger's lifestyle. Also playing this hotel security video of Combs beating Ventura in 2016, saying if he was charged with domestic violence, he would have pled guilty, adding it's a state crime, going on to call Ventura the real winner for walking away from her 2023 civil lawsuit against Combs with a $30 million settlement.
They basically said, my client did a lot of bad things, but he's not charged with those bad things. He's charged with these very specific federal crimes, and the government can't prove those.
Jury deliberations are actually going to begin on Monday after the judge gives them their instructions, and there's a lot to get through. Remember, there are 5 charges, including RICO claiming organized crime, which could carry the most complicated sentence. It could be life in prison for him. So there's so much data. There's been over 7 weeks of testimony, and it's a lot for these jurors to sift through. Yeah, that's you're going to be covering it all.
Good morning. Good morning.
Process on Monday, perhaps we'll see.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget,
That was Good Morning America. Yeah, there's a lot that they have to definitely get through. Hold on one second. Like the videos, you guys come in. Like the videos, you guys come in. What the women experience, so concerning.
Told them, quote, it is time to hold Sean Diddy Combs accountable. And the courtroom was packed. There were 3 overflow rooms that were shoulder to shoulder, and you could feel it in the air. The tension, the pressure, the weight of what was coming. Every row was full. Friends, lawyers, journalists, and for the first time in weeks, Diddy's entire family was there. All of his children and his mother and his cousins, all of them. There were whispers that the mothers of many of his children were seated nearby as well. And they all heard the same thing. The prosecution outlined step by step how the man sitting at defense table had for decades used money, power, and fear to get what he wanted. And when he didn't, the prosecutor said, quote,
There's about 219 in the building. If I can please get 219 people to please subscribe. We're trying to hit 39K. We're trying to hit 39K. There's now 299 in the building. If I can please get 299 people to subscribe and thank you. We're trying to hit 39K. Thank you. Let's continue. Fair use. Good morning. Good morning.
He wouldn't take no for an answer. And that line, they said it 16 times. The judge was strict. No one was allowed to move in that courtroom. U.S. Marshals warned, if you leave, you are not coming back in. No bathroom breaks, no cell phones.
Wow.
No second chances, because this was closing arguments. This was the government's final summation. And yeah, I know they'll get a rebuttal after the defense because they have the burden of proof, but you know what I mean. Like, this is it. And when that now infamous hotel video played yet again in court, the one that shows Diddy beating the hell out of Cassie Ventura, the jury didn't flinch, and neither did Diddy's family. But one of Diddy's twin daughters looked pretty shocked when the prosecutor showed photos of the black Escalade, the one linked to the drive-by at Kid Cudi's house. And according to reports inside the courtroom, when the arson photos came up, the charred Porsche, the slashed roof, she looked like she might cry.
Aww.
Kind of odd considering all of the other evidence in this case, and so much of it summarized today in just under 5 hours. Today, the prosecution laid it all bare in a simple roadmap that is easier to follow than Waze. Drugs, the freak-offs, the threats of violence, and the system. The system that the prosecutor said was just built to keep it all going. Protected by staffers, covered up with cash, and run, yes, like a criminal enterprise. And I'm going to take you through all of it. So make sure you're comfy. All of it started with Assistant U.S. Attorney Christy Slap.
Like the video, like the video. She's going to give us a breakdown of what happened in court on Thursday, Friday, most likely Friday. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Standing to address the jury. She told them that this was not just a case about bad behavior or even isolated criminal acts. She said this was about organized crime, racketeering. And she told the jury that she would walk them through all 5 counts against Sean Diddy Combs. And that she did. She started with count 1, racketeering conspiracy, the heart of the case, the very charge that would elevate Diddy from a celebrity with a bad boy reputation to a criminal kingpin. Behind her was a slideshow. It was beamed onto the courtroom screen, and it wasn't flashy. It was methodical, like a visual roadmap of what prosecutors say was Diddy's enterprise. The operation built around him, built for him, and weaponized by him. The prosecutor made it all sound so simple. An enterprise, she said, is just a group of people with a common purpose. Think about that. An enterprise is just a group of people with a common purpose. And in Diddy's case, she said that purpose was crystal clear. She said it was to serve, to protect, and to promote Sean Combs. She called this enterprise a kingdom, a world where Diddy sat at the very top, surrounded by staffers and enablers and lieutenants who existed to maintain his image and to carry out his demands and to bury the damage in Diddy's wake. The U.S. attorney said the enterprise had a crystal clear goal: protect his power, facilitate and cover up his crimes, and isolate his victims, control them. Then came the visuals. The prosecutor pulled up a news slide, not just a flow chart, but a web, a map of what she called the Combs enterprise. She made a point to tell the jury, this isn't bad boy entertainment, y'all. This isn't Revolt TV. This is the criminal side of the operation that he hid in plain sight, she said. At the very top of that web, Sean Combs, the center of gravity. Just beneath him, prosecutor showed Christina Coram, known as KK, chief of staff and alleged right-hand man in almost every major move. Then came Diddy's security team. D-Rock, Fahim, Roger Bonds, Rubes, Uncle Paulie. All men who prosecutors say weren't just bodyguards, they were enforcers. And then the assistants on the chart. Eli Maroon, David James, George Kaplan, Brendan Paul, and a long list of others. She told the jury exactly what many of these insiders allegedly did. They facilitated sex and drug crimes. They shielded Diddy from the police.
Like the video, like the video. There's about 245 in the building. Can I please get 245 to please subscribe and thank you. We're trying to hit 39K. Thank you. Continue to hit the like button, you guys. We only got 30 likes and we've been live for almost 30 minutes or so. Continue to hit the like button. Double tap the screen, please. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
They helped Diddy control his victims through force, fraud, or coercion. And then the prosecutor hammered home the legal standard. To convict on racketeering conspiracy, the jury doesn't have to believe every name on that screen committed a crime. They don't even have to believe that Diddy committed every alleged act. They just need to find 2 predicate acts, 2 crimes under the racketeering statute that were committed in furtherance of the enterprise being a group of people who come together for a common purpose. And that is it. Think about it. That is it. In 7 weeks, I submit that they have put together a veritable smorgasbord of crimes to choose from. They only have to pick 2. They only have to believe that 2 of these predicate acts, these crimes, happened in furtherance of this conspiracy. Just 2. I'm going to list out a whole bunch of the different kinds of predicate acts that you can have for racketeering. That'll happen in a moment. But with the map of Diddy's alleged criminal conspiracy still glowing on that PowerPoint behind her, the prosecutor explained the government's view of what Diddy's enterprise actually did. And then she rattled off a list of crimes that sounded like they were ripped right out of a mob movie. She said the Combs enterprise conspired to commit, here you go, take a note, drug distribution, kidnapping, arson, bribery.
Wait, if you or someone you know was
Fair
detained...
use reaction clip. Like the video, you guys. Like the video. Please subscribe to the page and thank you. Continue to hit the like button, you guys. We got 33 likes. Let's get the likes to 100. Please continue to hit the like button.
Arson, bribery, trafficking, interstate transportation for forced labor, witness tampering. And remember yesterday when everybody was freaking out that the prosecutors must have dropped arson and kidnapping, and we were here to tell you, no, they did not. They just said drop the jury instruction for the attempted arson and the attempted kidnapping. Oh, but arson and kidnapping are in there, and they were front and center in the prosecution's closing today. The U.S. attorney started off with drug distribution. According to the prosecutor, drugs weren't just around, they were essential. The fuel for what insiders described as freak-offs, the name used for Diddy's sex parties, or hotel nights, or king nights, or wild king nights. They all were the same thing, the sex parties. The drugs mentioned, again, get your list out, it's long, cocaine, meth, ketamine, oxycodone, Xanax, MDMA, ecstasy, Molly, GHB, and something called Tusi, also known as pink cocaine. The prosecutor told the jury that these drugs didn't just appear out of thin air. People in Diddy's inner circle helped make it all happen. His chief of staff, KK, bodyguards like D-Rock and Fahim. They weren't just protecting Diddy. The government said they helped get the drugs. Diddy also used outside dealers with nicknames like Baby Girl, One Stop, and Guido. The prosecutor told the jury it doesn't matter how much cocaine it was. You don't need to prove it was a mountain of drugs. Even one drug delivery, one transaction, one handoff. Prosecutor said that is enough to meet the legal standard for distribution. You get some drugs and you hand them out to your girlfriends and your staff and your friends. Distribution. Next up was kidnapping. The prosecutor told the jury they do not need to picture someone being snatched off the street for this charge of kidnapping to apply. What matters is whether a person was held or taken against their will, moved against their will. And she gave the jury 3 examples. First, Cassie Ventura. Prosecutor said Cassie was held at the London hotel until her bruises healed and that she was not free to leave. If someone's kept somewhere they don't want to be, that meets the definition of kidnapping. Now, maybe tomorrow, maybe with the defense and their closing, you're going to hear, no, she wanted to be at the London hotel till her bruises healed. But other witnesses said she was not allowed to leave. Second, Capricorn Clark, Diddy's assistant. The prosecutor reminded the jury that Capricorn testified she was taken against her will to a vacant building and forced by one of Diddy's assistants named Uncle Paulie to take a lie detector test for 5 days. She testified that Uncle Paulie told her if she failed the lie detector test, she would end up in the East River. And the third kidnapping incident that prosecutors outlined again involved Capricorn Clark, Diddy's assistant. She testified that Diddy showed up at her apartment with a gun, banged on the door aggressively, and forced her to get in his car. She said Diddy was on his way to confront a rapper named Kid Cudi, a man who had started seeing Cassie. Capricorn testified she didn't have a choice in this, and that later, in Kid Cudi's driveway, she called Cassie and told Cassie that Diddy wouldn't let her leave unless Cassie showed up at the house. And remember, Capricorn also told the jury that Diddy threatened both of them, Cassie and Capricorn, by saying, quote, you need
like the video, fair use reaction clip.
To convince Kid Cudi to tell the police it wasn't me. If you don't, I'll kill all you motherfuckers.
Dot.
This was after Kid Cudi's home had been broken into, right? Diddy standing in Kid Cudi's home, opening his Christmas presents, talking to him on the phone. I just want to talk to you. Prosecution explained to the jury that by law, those actions meet the definition of kidnapping. And next up on the list, arson. Remember I told you a veritable smorgasbord of predicate acts of crimes that the jury can choose from? They only need 2, so ding, ding, ding. All right, so arson, another predicate act of racketeering. And the prosecution reminded the jury about the night that Kid Cudi's Porsche went up in flames. Kid Cudi was seeing Cassie by this time, and not long before the fire, the prosecutor said Diddy threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car. And then what do you know? That actually happened. Kid Cudi's car was blown up. Porsche was firebombed. The roof was slashed. A Molotov cocktail was thrown inside, and the car was badly damaged. The prosecutor told this jury that this was not about property damage. This was about sending a message. Using fear to control Cassie and the people around Cassie, like Kid Cudi. And then the prosecution turned to bribery. Yet another potential.
Because you saw what happened when she tried to leave. Now you're seeing what happens when she try and date somebody else. The concerns. Real talk, fair use, reaction clip.
Potential predicate act to choose from. And what the prosecutors say was a clear effort to cover up what happened at the Intercontinental Hotel that night that Cassie was beaten so badly on camera, and we all saw it. Prosecutors reminded the jury about the surveillance video. Beating was just awful. It was all over the news, right? She said Diddy's team scrambled to get their hands on that footage before anybody else could, even the police. According to the government, the first person Diddy's team approached was a man named Israel Flores, a hotel security guard who responded to the assault on the 6th floor within minutes. The U.S. attorney said the Combs tried to bribe Israel with thousands of dollars, but that Israel Flores turned the offer down.
Teenagers are building businesses with AI, while the only
fair
AI
use, fair use reaction clip. And you got to remember, Cassie was getting ready for her premiere. So the next day, they trying to get a hold of the tape. And Cassie's trying to prepare for her premiere.
No, wasn't going to work for Diddy. And thus, KK, Diddy's chief of staff, reached out to another hotel security officer, this one named Eddie Garcia. And when Eddie also told her no, prosecutors said KK later showed up at the hotel in person.
Wow.
And even though Eddie Garcia warned KK off the record that, quote, it's really bad, meaning the video was really bad, he still refused to give up the tape. But prosecutors told the jury that didn't stop the pressure, and that both KK and Diddy personally called Eddie Garcia's private phone, saying Diddy promised to, quote, take care of Garcia if Eddie Garcia would only cough up that surveillance video. And eventually, Eddie Garcia went to his boss, and the boss agreed to hand over the security video in return for $100 grand. Finally, the call logs and the text messages showing the back and forth between Diddy's employees and the hotel security lining up the payment and the pickup of the surveillance footage of Cassie's beating. The video, prosecutors say, Diddy wanted buried. He didn't want his reputation to be tarnished, and he sure as hell did not want the police to have that. That's what the prosecutor's arguing here. Next, the U.S. attorney drilled down on...
And the police should have had it that night. It should have went to the next day. Why didn't the police have that tape that night? Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Just how much money Diddy's closest assistants were being paid and what they were allegedly doing in return. KK, Christina Coram, Diddy's chief of staff, Man Friday. She was paid $600,000 a year. Brendan Paul, one of the assistants who admitted to ferrying drugs for Diddy. The kid who was like a Syracuse basketball star, fresh out of college, gets the job with Diddy and ends up in court testifying. That kid made $100,000 a year. The prosecutor said employees of Diddy's Bad Boy Entertainment handled travel, bookings, hotel setups, not just for business trips, but for transporting escorts and women across state lines to participate in illegal sex acts, paid sex acts. They also helped buy the drugs, those assistants. The prosecutor said drugs that were distributed among lovers and escorts and friends and employees all over the country, and sometimes overseas too. Jurors were reminded of the evidence that Diddy's assistants and his bodyguards participated in coercive behavior, that they helped isolate victims, sticking them in hotel rooms, and that they helped cover up alleged crimes, all while staying on Diddy's lucrative payroll. To back that up, the prosecutor...
Now, the media is so big. Where was the media then? Why didn't the police get that tape that night? Why didn't the hotel say where they gave it to the police? No media was out there, no coverage. Nobody tried to sell the story. They were able to get the tape the next day. It should have been given to the police. So don't that make you wonder how that didn't go to the police? How it didn't get leaked? How nobody really talked about it? No one really knew. You know how many women would have been avoiding him if they knew what he did to Cassie years ago? Fair use reaction clip.
A series of images and documents. There was a full hierarchy chart of the enterprise showing who reported to whom. Photos of Sean Combs, KK, the security team, D-Rock, Fahim, Uncle Paulie, and assistants like Eli Maroon, George Kaplan, David James, and Brendan Paul. The prosecutor's message was simple. This was not a sloppy group of people. This was a machine. And every part of it, she argued, was designed to serve one man, and that was Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs. Next, the prosecutor walked the jury through one of the most serious charges of all, sex trafficking. And she focused on two patterns, what witnesses called the freak-offs involving Cassie, and the hotel nights, or the king nights, or the wild king nights involving Jane. The prosecutor said this qualifies as a racketeering act because members of Diddy's inner circle helped make those sex parties happen. So what is sex trafficking under the law? The prosecutor made it real simple for these jurors. She said it means recruiting, enticing, transporting, or housing someone, knowing or choosing to ignore that force, fraud, or coercion will be used to make that person engage in a commercial sex act. Let me read that for you again, because it's really important. The prosecutor made this very simple. Sex trafficking is recruiting, enticing, transporting, or housing someone, knowing or choosing to ignore that force, fraud, or coercion will be...
So do y'all think that that's what was happening? Fair use reaction clip. Like the video, like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, you guys. Continue to hit the like, you guys. We're at 38 likes. We have 158 in the building. Please get the likes up. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. And please double tap the screen. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. And please double tap the screen or hit the like above the video or below the video. Let's get the likes up. We're at 39 likes. Let's get the likes to 100, please, so we can continue. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Let's get the likes up to 100. Thank you. We're at 40, 42. Thank you. Let's go. 42. Let's get the likes up. Double tap the screen, please. Please double tap the screen to get the likes up. 44. Thank you. 44 likes. Let's get the likes up so we can continue. It lets everyone know we're live. It keeps me in the algorithm. Any super chats are welcome. Thank you. 48. Let's go. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. Sometimes my show, I kind of just let you guys not hit, but you got to hit the like. Thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Used to make that person engage in a commercial sex act. Think that through. All those employees, all the things they did. Does it match? And I dare say there's a lot of evidence saying, oh, hell yeah. And coercion doesn't just mean violence. It can be a threat. It can be psychological pressure. It can even be a manipulative scheme. Anything that makes the victim believe something bad will happen if they say no. This is the law, folks. This isn't just me. This isn't just an attitude. This isn't just, gosh, I hope it happens. It's not. I hate that this stuff happens. But the law is really clear. And this U.S. attorney was a bit boring, but damn, she was good, right? She was really, really good. Super thorough. And maybe while she didn't have, the charisma of Johnny Cochran or some of the really highly paid attorneys on Diddy's team, she did the job. She laid it out. And people were silent in court. Yeah, they were really kind of like vibed by what was going on.
Do you know what eating cabbage can do to your heart? Cabbage is a cruciferous vegetable that resembles lettuce and can be red,
Fair use,
purple,
fair use,
white,
reaction
or
clip.
green.
Like the video, like the video. Like the video. Hold on, let's let that commercial go past. Like the video.
On my show on News Nation called Banfield, I talked to a TikToker named Emily Hagen, who is also a journalist who's been watching this trial from the beginning. And she was in the courtroom, and she had so many observations. Name right? Emily Hagen?
You did.
Exactly. Okay, good. Good. All right, so I saw your TikTok today, and you talked about a vibe shift. Tell me about that.
100%. I've been covering this since jury selection, and up until today, I feel like the content creators and it's kind of felt like a circus out there. I'm going to be honest. It's like everyone's out there live streaming. They're making their TikToks. People are fighting on the streets. But today, it was as eerie as how the weather was in New York. It was cloudy. People came into the courtroom, and it was like they sucked all the energy out of you like a vacuum. And even Diddy himself's body language mirrored all of the reporters in the crowd and the hundreds of law students that traveled across the country today to come and fill up 3 overflow rooms, which we haven't seen yet. Usually when I get to court, they say, go up to room 24B. That's the overflow room if you can't make it into the main courtroom. Today, they were like, head up to 15A. They had opened up 2 extra overflow rooms because that is how much attention this case drew on the closing day.
Wow, that's the first time I'm hearing that. Like the video, like the video.
So it was a really crazy vibe shift, Ashley.
Well, so the vibe shift, like people screaming outside, people angry about getting, a plate. So it was aggressive.
There's always that. So I don't know if you've been seeing all the TikToks, but people are screaming every day just to secure a spot in the courtroom. People are spending hundreds of dollars on line sitters just to sit in a courtroom. So people were aggressively pushing themselves to the front of the line today, like unlike anything I've ever seen before. But usually in the overflow room, when we're hearing witnesses on the stand, there's like jokes being made by the judge, and today there was just none of that. It was the prosecutors brought such a strong case, and they were so serious that nobody was moving. Everybody was completely still, including Diddy, who he's normally like passing notes, making jokes to Tenny Garagos, and today he was sitting back in his chair, completely still, almost like a statue. I feel like it is the final act, and it is finally hitting him that this is not a Wild King night. This is not a show anymore. Like, this is reality sinking in for him and for everybody at the case.
Yeah, like everything just got real. Listen, when I saw sort of like soup to nuts, how the prosecutors summed this all up for the jury, all I could say was like, damn, is that easy to see? It just made it so crystal clear and easy. And, for everybody out there who's just been dabbling or watching a headline here and there or some social media on it, a lot of people thought, nah, no way. This isn't sex trafficking. This isn't racketeering. Did it feel a little different now?
Yeah, I mean, today I felt like, before today, everyone was like, Diddy's going free. Like, he's going to have a freak off next week. People literally thought Diddy's going free. And then today, everyone was kind of looking around. Once they had that PowerPoint up on the screen, I feel like it really made it easy for people to finally put the pieces together and understand. It's almost like the prosecutors realized how confusing this RICO was for the general public. and they dumbed it down as much as they could for the jury, as if they were giving like a college presentation. And I feel like up until today, people didn't realize how simple it was to prove a RICO. And now everyone's like, wait, is he going to jail for life? Now, maybe not. I think they're going to have a hard time proving the criminal enterprise, but all of the predicate acts, they almost seem like they could hit everyone today. I don't know if that's what you felt.
I did, but I have felt that way since the beginning. Like literally, I've been watching and ticking boxes every single day saying, oh, they got that one. Oh, they got that one too. Damn, they got that one. So I've been like keeping a scorecard for 7 weeks, and I've just sort of been flummoxed by all these people out there saying this isn't trafficking and this isn't racketeering. I've seen the Southern District of New York do a sex trafficking and RICO charge with someone I know. So I really feel like they nailed this one. And I feel like you said they nailed it on each and every one.
I did. And I think the reason that the public has been kind of saying that. Oh,
that's them, not me.
Yeah,
Fair use reaction clip.
That was my son, and he's almost 20, and he still doesn't
hit
know
the like, you guys.
Gotta put it on vibrate, Ashley. So yeah,
I think it's a dumb move. Dumb
no,
move.
That was louder than the courtroom today. Like I'm telling you, it was so quiet. It's usually very bizarre, and I feel like today people were like, wait, we're actually at a court trial. I feel like up until today, people thought this was just like one big happy hour. Like the creators are picking their favorite football team, making bets. And today we're like, wait, this is actually a real trial for Diddy. And it just got a little bit, I don't know, it's a little too real. And then we saw the daughters today for the first time. The twins came. We haven't seen them since week 1. They were there the first week supporting their father. And then today they walked in matching white pinstripe suits, holding their sister Chance's hand. And it just felt really emotional for everybody. And I feel like people at the case are getting really connected to it. But to your point as to why people, maybe you thought the RICO was a RICO, but everyone else thought it was a FRICO. And I think it's because of how charismatic the defense team is. Today, when the prosecutor got up on the stand, someone was like, how do you feel like she did? And I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't even tell you her name. All the prosecutors this whole trial feel like they're just substitute teachers. But when the defense gets up there, it's like we're watching the Shawshank Redemption. They are putting on a show. And not only that, they are schmoozing with all of the content creators in the courtroom. Brian Steele's coming up to me going like this. Javier Donaldson's performing so much where the judge has to say, can you come back to the microphone? Like, we can't hear you. And they're schmoozing with us. So they're kind of gaining the trust of the content creators. So then we're going home, we're publishing this to our audience, and the public is like, Diddy's getting off. But then when the prosecutors are in the room, they don't even look our way. They mean business.
You know what?
Need a break from the ordinary?
Yeah, I think they're trying to be nice to the media. Just to saying, oh, they said hi, or they looked my way, oh, they kind of waved at me. They want that in the media. They do. I've been hearing it more and more. Oh, the family kind of looked my way. Yeah, fair use reaction clip.
That with the jazz hands of Johnny Cochran. So now I can't be snowed at all.
And by the way, the law also says that trafficking has to affect either interstate or foreign.
Damn, is that easy to see?
Employees, all the things they did.
Too. I feel like it is the final act, and it is finally hitting him that this is not a Wild King night. This is not a show anymore. Like, this is reality sinking in for him and for everybody at the case.
Yeah, like everything just got real. Listen, when I saw sort of like soup to nuts, how the prosecutors summed this all up for the jury, all I could say was like, damn, is that easy to see? You know, it just made it so crystal clear and easy. And, you know, for everybody out there who's just been dabbling or watching a headline here and there or some social media on it, a lot of people thought, nah, no way. This isn't sex trafficking. This isn't racketeering. Did it feel a little different now?
Yeah, I mean, today I felt like, before today, everyone was like, Diddy's going free. Like, he's going to have a freak off next week. People literally thought Diddy's going free. And then today, everyone was kind of looking around. Once they had that PowerPoint up on the screen, I feel like it really made it easy for people to finally put the pieces together and understand. It's almost like the prosecutors realized how confusing this RICO was for the general public, and they dumbed it down as much as they could for the jury, as if they were giving like a college presentation. And I feel like up until today, people didn't realize how simple it was to prove a RICO. And now everyone's like, wait, is he going to jail for life? Now, maybe not. I think they're going to have a hard time proving the criminal enterprise, but all of the predicate acts, they almost seem like they could hit everyone today. I don't know if that's what you felt.
I did, but I have felt that way since the beginning. Like literally, I've been watching and ticking boxes every single day saying, oh, they got that one. Oh, they got that one too. Damn, they got that one. So I've been like keeping a scorecard for 7 weeks, and I've just sort of been flummoxed by all these people out there saying this isn't trafficking and this isn't racketeering. I've seen the Southern District of New York do a sex trafficking and RICO charge with someone I know. So I really feel like they nailed this one. And I feel like you said they nailed it on each and every one.
I did. And I think the reason that the public has been kind of saying that, oh, Is it Diddy?
Yeah, that was my son. He does this all the time, Emily. That is my son, and he's almost 20, and he still doesn't know when I'm live on TV.
Gotta put it on vibrate, Ashley. So yeah,
I know, such a dumb move. Dumb
no,
move.
that was louder than the courtroom today. Like, I'm telling you, it was so quiet. It's usually very bizarre, and I feel like today people were like, wait, we're actually at a court trial. I feel like up until today, people thought this was just like one big happy hour. Like, the creators are picking their favorite football team, making bets, and today we're like, wait, this is actually a real trial for Diddy, and it just got a little bit, I don't know, it's a little too real. And then we saw the daughters today for the first time. The twins came. We haven't seen them since week 1. They were there the first week supporting their father, and then today they walked in matching white.
And week 1 was very interesting. A lot of information said and told, and it kind of got kind of ranchy in front of his daughters. That was kind of concerning. So of course they had their graduations. The girls had lives. They do have lives, but the daughters to have to hear all that. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video. Let's continue to get the likes up, you guys. Double tap the screen for me. Let's go.
Striped suits holding their sister Chance's hand. And it just felt really emotional for everybody. And I feel like people at the case are getting really connected to it. But to your point as to why people, maybe you thought the RICO was a RICO, but everyone else thought it was a FRICO. And I think it's because of how charismatic the defense team is.
She said FRICO.
Today, when the prosecutor got up on the stand, someone was like, how do you feel like she did? And I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't even tell you her name. All the prosecutors this whole trial feel like they're just substitute teachers. But when the defense gets up there, it's like we're watching the Shawshank Redemption. They are putting on a show. And not only that, they are schmoozing with all of the content creators in the courtroom. Ryan Steele's coming up to me going like this. Javier Donaldson's performing so much where the judge has to say, can you come back to the microphone? Like, we can't hear you. And they're schmoozing with us. So they're kind of gaining the trust of the content creators. So then we're going home, we're publishing this to our audience, and the public is like, Diddy's getting off. But then when the prosecutors are in the room, they don't even look our way. They mean business.
You know what? I saw that with the jazz hands of Johnny Cochran. So now I can't be snowed at all.
And by the way, the law also says that trafficking has to affect either interstate or foreign commerce. And the prosecutor made that real simple too, explaining that even something little, like a hotel room being booked with a corporate card, that qualifies for interstate or foreign commerce. If you booked it over the interstate lines, over the commerce lines, right? You know, like banking, or if you book something overseas, it's interstate or foreign. And the person being charged doesn't even have to know all the details if they set the wheels in motion and if it affects commerce. Prosecutors told the jury that is all they need in order to convict. And by the way, they have a lot of receipts. To drive the point home, the prosecutor showed the jury photos of 27 different escorts, 27 pictures. Yeah, that was like a...
Wow, 27? That's a lot of people. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before where you're watching from. Thanks for tuning in. Let's continue.
Feel in the courtroom. That came across heavy. 15 of those escorts were linked to Cassie's free costs. 6 of those escorts were linked to Jane's hotel nights or king nights or wild king nights. And 6 of the escorts overlapped both Cassie and Jane, meaning they were involved in both of the sex deals. The prosecutor then addressed something head on: consent. She told the jury this, quote, "We're not asking you to find that every free cough or hotel night was sex." She acknowledged that both Jane and Cassie were at times willing to try these things and that they both agreed to the free coughs, even enjoyed the free coughs, at least in the beginning. But the prosecutor said if there was even one episode, one time, just one free cough or one hotel night, when the defendant knew these women did not want to participate and pushed it anyway, she said that is enough. That's
enough. And you got to remember how the girl said, no, I don't want to. And then he got on the phone. He set it up anyway. Remember how the girl thought that they were going to have a romantic night. And then that she saw the red light. She knew what that meant. So these women were thinking, okay, I'm going to have a great night. But they should have got out because this is what he's into. Fair use reaction clip. Like I said, he's innocent till proven guilty in a court of law. The jury's going to have to decide his fate. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Prosecution reminded the jury that Jane described these hotel nights in detail and that they all followed the same pattern, saying it was always happening the way Diddy wanted it to happen. And Jane said she never felt like she really had a choice. The prosecutor laid out what she called the 4 phases of Diddy and Jane's relationship. The love bombing, where he swept her off her feet. the introduction of hotel nights, the use of money and rent as leverage, and the aftermath of Cassie's lawsuit when things got worse. She told the jury that the early part of Diddy and Jane's relationship fit the exact pattern that forensic psychologist Dr. Don Hughes described on the stand. Classic love bombing. She said that Jane was being groomed, primed, the prosecutor said, and spent the rest of that relationship trying to get back to that early part, get the early attention back. Once Jane was comfortable with the drugs, with the baby oil, with the overall vibe, prosecutor said Diddy took things to the next level. He introduced the freak-offs, the hotel nights, and yes, Jane agreed to do them. But what Jane didn't understand, the prosecution argued, was just how fast Diddy could make it all happen. He had the staff, the rooms, the baby oil, the lube, the escorts, the money, everything lined up before she even knew what was coming. Jane testified that the first night was exciting. It felt taboo and risky, even a little fun. But she didn't realize what she'd just agreed to. As the prosecution put it, she didn't know what she had just opened, as she described to Diddy herself, was a Pandora's box. The prosecution reminded the jury that Jane had made her feelings clear over and over again. They were shown multiple texts where Jane said she didn't want to do hotel nights, and that she was uncomfortable, and that she wanted to stop. And while there were moments where Jane seemed to have a say, even picking the escort herself, the prosecutor said it did not mean that she was in control. Diddy still ran the show, they said. He supervised. And he even made her screen mirror her phone while she sexted with the escorts so that he could watch in real time. And then came the so-called love contract, the rent agreement, which on paper looked great, like Diddy was looking after Jane. Jane thought that it would give her stability, a $10,000 a month apartment rental that was paid for by Diddy.
Were y'all surprised that he was paying her rent and still paying her rent even though he was in jail? Were you surprised at that? Many people were surprised. You guys, we're almost at 39K. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're almost at 39K. We just need 150 more people. Please subscribe. We just need 150 more people. If you already subscribed, thank you. If you already hit like, thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
But the prosecutor told the jury that wasn't support. That was leverage. Diddy would say things like, quote, "Look at the roof over your head." And behind that comment was a message. The prosecutor said that message was, "You owe me. You don't get to say no." The prosecutor said, quote, "He knew Jane was dependent. He knew how to turn a no into a yes. That is coercion. And it worked," end quote. When Cassie's lawsuit became public, Jane said it felt like she was reading her own story. But the prosecutor made one thing very clear. Jane didn't suddenly speak up because of Cassie. Jane had already been saying no for months. Quote, "She wasn't copying Cassie," end quote. The prosecutor said she was finally being believed, end quote. Then she brought it all home by saying, quote, "He's pressuring her into hotel nights. He's using carrots and sticks. He is coercing her." The defendant's conduct had one purpose: to get Jane to agree to do hotel nights. This is sex, end quote. Then the prosecutor brought it back to the legal elements, the building blocks of the charge. First, she said Diddy clearly recruited and enticed Jane. He flew her in for the hotel nights, and that's all it takes to meet the interstate commerce requirement. Even the baby oil and the Astroglide, the things that were used during the freaky nights, right? They were made out of state in New Jersey and New York, the prosecutor said. And that counts too, which I thought was crazy, but okay. And then she moved to the second element, force, fraud, and coercion. She said the law does not require all three, just one of the force, fraud, and coercion. And as the prosecutor put it, quote, "Consent once is..."
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Do you think he's guilty, not guilty, or do you think there'll be a mistrial? Note it in the comments. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Not consent forever. That is huge.
What do you think the jury's decision will be?
Consent once is not consent forever. So yeah, you could read a whole bunch of messages saying, "I love our freak-offs," right? And then you can read another message when it says, I love our freak-offs when we both want it. Those were Cassie's texts. So yeah, some of the freak-offs, maybe they really loved them. And some of the freak-offs, maybe they really, really didn't want them. And this prosecutor is telling this jury, that's all that matters. You only have to see one freak-off that they don't want to do, that they are forced or fraudulently pushed or coerced into doing, and there you have it. You can say guilty. That's powerful, right? And then she gave specific examples of force, fraud, and coercion, like the New York trip in September of 2023. Prosecutor said that was fraud. Jane thought they were going to have a, quote, proper New York weekend together. But little did Jane know that Diddy was already texting escorts and the owner of a company called Cowboys for Angels. Jane said she didn't even find out about that till she was already on board the plane and in the air. Next was the sobriety party. Prosecutor said that Jane had thrown up, that she was clearly sick. She was clearly not okay, right in the middle of this big hotel night freak-off. But that Diddy still pressured her to finish strong, have sex with the third escort of the night. Prosecution called that a false promise. Another
third escort of the night. Who wants their girl sleeping with that many people? Fair use reaction clip.
Clear act of coercion. And finally, a night in June of 2024, when a violent fight broke out between Diddy and Jane, followed by, a freak-off, a hotel night, a Wild King night. Prosecutor said that Diddy looked right at Jane and said the words, quote, "Is this coercion?" End quote. Prosecutor didn't hesitate. She told the jury, yes, it was, and he knew it, end quote. By that point, Diddy was already under investigation. The prosecutor said he knew what the stakes were, and still, he said that phrase out loud. Is this coercion? The prosecutor said, quote, "The answer couldn't be clearer. There is no credible argument that the defendant can make." He used the word. And then the prosecutor added this: "It doesn't matter what Jane said or did first. It doesn't matter if she hit him. It doesn't matter if she called him names. That is not what this is about. What matters," she said, "is that he crossed the line and he did it knowingly." And then the prosecutor turned back to Cassie Ventura and told the jury that for Sean Diddy Combs, it was never just about power. It was about control. She said Diddy wanted something very specific from Cassie: total compliance. That's a quote, total compliance. And to get that, the prosecutor told the jurors he used violence regularly until, in her words, quote, "violence became Cassie's normal." Cassie, she reminded the jury, wasn't just a girlfriend. She was a young R&B artist who was signed to Diddy's label. Someone who looked up to Diddy, someone who was, in Diddy's words, quote, "young and moldable." Quote, "He groomed her," end quote. The prosecutor said he wanted someone who would bend to his every whim, end quote. Some days Diddy was charming, other days explosive and violent. And that unpredictability, the prosecutor said, was the point. Quote, "This kept Cassie on uncertain footing." That's what the defendant wanted. It gave him control, this prosecutor told the jury. And then the prosecutor did not let the jury forget what Cassie endured. She walked them back through every violent attack that Diddy allegedly carried out against her, including the one that the jury saw with their own eyes, the hotel hallway beating caught on surveillance video. She told the jury, quote, "Any one of these attacks would have been terrifying. But for Cassie," she said, "it became normal," end quote. And then she reminded the jury of Cassie's own words on the witness stand, the moment that still echoes, quote, "Make the wrong face, next thing I know, I'm getting hit in the face," end quote.
That's sad. Fearful of make the wrong face. Make the wrong face. You guys, this is so sad that these women had to experience it, but they needed to get out. And they needed to have their own money, their own lane, their own everything. It was almost like, get you under my control, pay your rent. Okay, you want to date somebody else? I'm going to ask your mom and dad to send me money. You want to date somebody else? I'm going to leak your stuff. That's what he was telling these women at times. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video, like the video. Let's get the likes to 100, you guys. Let's get the likes to 100. We're 70. Thank you. Yeah, and this is the biggest thing. I've said it before. He's innocent till proven guilty. It's up to the jury. It's up to the jury. They may say, let him go. Will he be home with his family on the 4th of July? Let's continue. Fair use.
Bree was then reminded of the patterns, how Cassie was transported across state lines for free-offs, taken to different hotels, even different countries. The prosecutor referenced one of the first stories the jury heard in this trial, where Cassie was allegedly beaten while a paid escort was there, an escort named Daniel Phillip. Phillip later testified that he could not even perform sexually after witnessing that violence. Not then at that moment, and not actually for a long time afterwards. He testified that he heard Diddy scream at Cassie, quote, "Bitch, when I tell you to come here, come here." And when Cassie didn't act the way Diddy wanted at that moment, the prosecutor said Diddy demanded she sleep with Daniel instead, the man who was paid to be there. That, the prosecutor told the jury, is saying. She also walked them through psychological control. Capricorn Clark, Diddy's former assistant, recalled one moment with chilling detail when Diddy told Cassie, quote, sit down, stand up, turn around, turn back around, end quote. Capricorn Clark testified that Cassie obeyed every command without hesitation. Quote, she was trained, the prosecutor said. That's coercion. She also reminded the jury that Cassie was frequently given drugs. Drugs, Cassie said, helped numb the pain of it all. They were told that Cassie's phone, her laptop, and her car keys were routinely taken away, again and again. Quote, that's coercion, prosecutor said. There were so many physical assaults, the prosecutor said they couldn't even name them all. The Intercontinental Hotel beating, the night at Prince's house at his party, the aftermath of a violent beating where Cassie's forehead was split open on the sharpest point of a bed frame, witnessed by both Deontay Nash and Mia, the assistant. And then the Cassie testified happened on her living room floor after she and Diddy had split up and when she'd started dating her current husband, Alex Fine. And what did Diddy text Cassie the next day after this alleged, quote, I know I look bad to you. I could tell I didn't turn you on yesterday. I fell off, end quote.
Fell off. And listen here. I was just thinking about this and talking with some of my friends. Men, women, be careful how you talk about this case. There's somebody looking and lurking of how you feel about this case. They may look at your wife, googly eyes. They may look at your daughter, googly eyes. Okay, you on his side? Let me see if your wife want a little attention. Let me wait till your daughter get 18. Be careful what you say to people. Because some of these men are saying, okay, you cool with him? You cool with what he did? Be careful. Like the video, fair use reaction clip.
The prosecutor said that message wasn't just an apology, it was an admission. As those words were spoken, Diddy sat at the defense table, head bowed, staring down at his hands. The prosecutor told the jury that Diddy knew what he had done. And as for Cassie, why she ever had sex with Diddy again after that night?
Exactly.
The prosecutor explained it with the words of the expert witness who testified earlier in the trial. She said Cassie was trauma bonded, emotionally tied to her abuser in a way that is hard to break. The prosecutor then turned to all the Freakoff videos and warned the jurors not to be fooled by what they saw. Yes, Cassie appeared to take part in the so-called Freakoffs. Yes, she looked like she was participating willingly. But the prosecutor told the jury she's performing, quote, just like Jane. Quote, don't be fooled into thinking it's anything more than that. It's a performance, end quote. And then the prosecutor explained why. Quote, there were many Freakoffs that Cassie participated in because of the defendant's force, threats of force, or coercion. Prosecutor continued, quote, that conduct is illegal. That conduct is, end quote. She told the jurors that it wasn't just the acts themselves, it was the fact that Diddy recorded them and then used those tapes as leverage, held them over her head, used them as a form of control. She reminded the jurors that Diddy threatened to release the sex tapes to Cassie's parents and then suddenly demanded those parents send him $20,000.
Welcome. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. There's about 173 in the building. If I can please get 173 to subscribe. We're trying to hit 39K. There's about 191. We're trying to hit 39K. If I can get all 191 to subscribe, we'll hit 39K. Like the video. Thanks for being here.
Which was wired with the help of Diddy's staff, as we heard in testimony. And the prosecutor said something that hit hard. Quote, the Freakoffs themselves became a way to coerce her into doing more Freakoffs, end quote. And then one more time, the jury was shown the hotel hallway beating video. The prosecutor pointed to the footage and told the jury exactly what she thought it meant. Quote, this is what happened when Cassie said no. She was kicked in the face, thrown down, end quote. The prosecutor said that after that beating, back in the hotel room, a male escort was waiting for Cassie. Not because Cassie wanted it, but because Diddy wanted it. Diddy arranged it for his own gratification.
Fair use reaction clip. Please subscribe, you guys. Please subscribe. Thank you. Please, let's get the likes to 100. Please double tap the screen. Let's get the likes to 100. We're at 74. Can I please get 30 people to double tap that screen, please? If you already subscribed, thank you. If you already hit the like, thank you. Please double tap the screen. Let's get the likes to 100. We're at 74. We're at 74. Let's get the likes up. 75. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. 75. Thank you. 78. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. Just double tap the screen for me. Thank you. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Please hit the like button. 79. Thank you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
And coercion to get Cassie back into that hotel room where the escort was waiting. That is trafficking, end quote. The prosecutor brought up what the government believes the defense will argue, that the escorts were only, quote, paid for their time, not for their sex. Prosecution dismissed that outright, saying, quote, you know why Daniel was there. She told the jury it was for sex. And by the way, I'm just going to lay it out there, folks. There's this little word that pops up in American jurisprudence all the time, and it's called reasonable. What's reasonable to you? What's reasonable doubt? And reasonable people, I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to convince reasonable people that sex workers, paid escorts, will get on a plane and perform in hours and hours, if not days and days, of grueling sexual activity with basically strangers for no money. But then, oh, no, you pay me thousands for my time. Is that reasonable? Think of it. Think about it. Are these jurors going to be convinced it's reasonable? I don't even think the prosecution had to really pound that one home. Reasonable. Prosecutor reminded the jurors of more times that Cassie was beaten. In Cannes, France, Diddy's assistant Mia testified she heard an assault over the phone during a trip where Cassie was kicked off the yacht. According to the prosecutor, that wasn't kink. That wasn't lifestyle. It was control. It was coercion. Prosecutor then turned her focus to KK, Christina Coram, Diddy's longtime chief of staff and someone she described as his most trusted lieutenant. She told the jury that KK didn't just work for Sean Combs, she enabled him, quote, she aided him as he used women for his sexual pleasure, end quote. This came as the prosecutor walked jurors through another charge on the table. Here it comes. Forced labor. She said Diddy didn't just demand loyalty, he demanded compliance. She reminded the jury about Mia, the employee who says Diddy used her and then kept her trapped in a cycle of grueling, punishing work, afraid to speak out. And standing beside him through all of this, prosecutor said, was KK. That woman Friday, according to the government, KK didn't stop any of the illegal acts. She didn't protect any of the women. And as the prosecutor reached the end of her closing argument, she stood in front of the jury and made her final plea. She told them that for years, Sean Diddy Combs got away with it. Quote, up until today. She said the defendant was able to get away with his crimes because of his money, his power, his influence, end quote. And then she looked them straight in the eye and said, quote, that stops now. It's time to hold him accountable. It's time for justice. It's time to find the defendant guilty, end quote. And court will pick right back up at 9 a.m. Friday morning when Diddy's defense team gets its turn to undo all that damage. Almost 5 hours of damage. And there's no other way that I could describe the job that's ahead for Diddy's expensive legal team, and that is uphill battle. Like Everest level uphill battle. These prosecutors just laid out the simplest roadmap, right? And they did it while volleying these preemptive strikes to weaken what the defense is about to say. Oh, the defense is going to tell you these women were always willing, Well, were they though? Because the prosecution lined up a whole bunch of instances where, yes, they were willing, and here, no, they weren't. Here, they really weren't. And by the way, reminder, jury, you only have to be unwilling once.
One time.
Conviction. And there's plenty of evidence from testimony and text messages and videos, etc., that show that, yeah, Jane and Cassie didn't look like they were willing. Said as much. I don't want to do it. Right? And how about the argument that the defense has to mount tomorrow? How to get past, transportation across state lines for the purpose of prosecution. Damn, the evidence is like a mountain. The receipts are there. Hey, here's the text message. Can you make it here on Friday? And hey, here's your hotel reservation. And hey, here's your ticket. And how about, hey, you're on the stand saying that you were there for sex, right? Well, Diddy's lawyers are going to say they weren't paid for their sex. They weren't paid for the sexy stuff. They were just paid by the hour. They were just paid for their time. Yes, there is one piece of evidence. There is an agent who was on the phone with Cowboys for Angels or Cowboys and Angels or whatever you call it, saying, I don't care what you're doing. You can play soccer or do whatever. You got to pay for their time, because he was haggling about the cost.
Fair use reaction clip. Said, I don't care what you're doing. You got to pay for the time. But we know, because the employees and the assistants had to clean the rooms up.
Cost. So then you got to think about what's reasonable. What's reasonable to you? This is a really tough row to hoe for Diddy's expensive lawyers, right? The government showed photos. They played the videos. They walked the jury through every threat, every act of coercion, every moment they saw Sean Diddy Combs cross the line and just keep going. They showed the receipts and the text messages. They reminded about the testimony from all sorts of people, not just the two women, right? And the jury was locked in, mostly. One older man was nodding along as the texts were read aloud.
Okay, everyone, I have to go. I have an appointment. I have to be there in 30 minutes. So, fair use reaction clip. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is used permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Let me know if you feel that he's guilty, not guilty, or there'll be a mistrial. Thank you for the replay game. Don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to hit 39K. There's about 157 in the building. Please subscribe, so we can hit that 39K. Thank you, everyone. Continue to hit the like button. Let's get the likes to 100. Please hit the like button, you guys. Let's get the likes to 100. Double tap that screen if you're watching from a phone. Please double tap that screen if you're watching from a phone. We're at 82 likes. We're at 82 likes. Can we get the likes to 100? 82 likes. Please double tap the screen. YouTube makes it easy where if you're watching from a phone, all you got to do is double tap the screen. Real talk. So yes, let me know guilty, not guilty, and if there's going to be a mistrial. What will the jury decide? Everyone have a great day. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. Goodbye. Be blessed.